the beautiful Lake House restaurant, which is situated in the brand new W Hotel in downtown Bellevue, Washington. Now what's really exciting about this restaurant is they've been using Kangen Water technology now for well over a year. And we're gonna go inside and check this place out, and we're gonna sit down and talk with Chef Jason Wilson, who is a James Beard award-winning chef. We're gonna talk to him about how they're implementing this technology and why it's so exciting. So let's go inside and check it out.
And ultimately, what are we trying to do is we're trying to create a better experience for our guests, right? And that better experience can be dealt with or experienced through really, happy, healthy employees, through a really clean and safe environment, and through the best tasting products possible. So when you think about that, it's how do you deliver that? Is it all on using Kangen Water? Well, probably not, but does it really aid in the process? I think it plays a really big part, and in some ways a pivotal part too. I mean, we have things from tea to washing our vegetables, to the cleanliness of our places in our kitchen, but also our front of the house. You look at that and you go, okay, that's really substantial and substantive. But then at the same time, we're able to say, well, if our employees are drinking Kangen Water, we also are looking at as an added benefit. We know that, and they know that they're experiencing something that's just both healthier and better for them. So it's a holistic way of operating a restaurant, I think, rather than what we've been kind of programmed to understand. In the kitchen, we're programmed to understand that bleach kills the bacteria on our cutting boards, and then we don't really understand why that works that way. And that's all based on a pH level, right? High acid, low acid. So if we're able to use water instead, we're never introducing this really a toxic chemical into our system or into our restaurant, and thus into the area by which we prepare great food.
Which is very important, and that's something that most chefs are interested in, obviously.
I think, as a chef-driven restaurateur, and I look at the chef's mindset drives the restaurants I'm a part of. I think it's important that we can produce put our best foot forward and produce our very best, and that comes with knowing the product, knowing where we source it from. So we have great relationships with farmers, and it's funny when I tell our tomato farmer from Walla Walla, Washington, I tell Amy that we're washing our tomatoes with just water. She says, well, that's all I would wash them with too. And I said, yeah, but then I explained, well, this is how I'm washing. This is the water we use. We use this 11.5 pH balanced water so that we get all of the dirt off and we create a better tasting tomato. She just looks at me like, that's incredible. And I'm like, no, that's nature. Yeah. And that's the cool part about it. It's like we keep that thread, that natural thread and approach from the farm all the way get to the table. So the Kangen Water allows us to do that. It's super cool in that sense because you have a natural approach, you can carry that through, and that taste comes through as well.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's
exciting.
It's innovative, right? And we were talking earlier how innovation drives change, and the restaurant industry really is changing and innovating as fast and out of necessity, but almost as fast as the technology industry does. Every 6 months or so, we're trying to reinvent what we do, maybe not conceptually, but always operationally, to become more efficient and stay on top. And for me, I look at there's a simple ROI that happens when using Kangen Water. If you take out some of the chemicals that we use to clean, and some of the stainless steel cleaners for our kitchens, and some of the degreasers and so forth, that's really cool on its own. But then when I'm able to show a cook or a sous chef or a chef, look at how this works. Then I'm actually doing the good work, because then this person takes it and moves it on to their next kitchen or tells other people about it. And ultimately, I don't have a glass cleaner or anything else in my kitchen. I'm just using water for that one aspect, which is super cool, because I loved more than anything else, though, telling the health department about it. And they're like, what?
The reaction?
The reaction
Wait,
is,
what? It's water?
It's fabulous, yeah. And I remember the first time I did it, I did it kind of offhandedly and grabbed a spoon and tasted the water, and she was like, what are you doing? And I said, I want you to put a strip
Drinking
in
my
here now.
sanitizer.
Yeah. And I said, put a strip in there now, put a pH strip in there. And she tested it at 2.5 or 2.5. And she looked at me kind of funny, and I said, that's water. And let me show you how this worked. So it's great to be able to pass on knowledge, because as well as we innovate, innovation ultimately is based on knowledge. That's the
Absolutely.
inception point for it. So
It's really exciting what we're doing. Everybody, my name's Steve Beaumont. I am an independent representative for Enagic International, and I am here at the Lake House in Bellevue, Washington, a beautiful new farm-to-table restaurant. And Chef Jason Wilson is a James Beard award-winning chef, and he is the head chef here. And he's explaining to us that some of the different uses that they're using Kangen Water for around the restaurant. So, Jason, how were you first introduced to this? What was your very first experience with this technology?
My first restaurant was Crush in Seattle, and that was in 2005. About a year after we opened in 2005, a customer had me over at his house to cook, and as happens quite a bit. And he had this big white marble countertops and this machine on top. And he starts explaining to me, listen, don't use any, we don't have any soap here. And I'm like, what? And then he goes on and tells me that, these white marble countertops he has are all clean with this machine and the water that comes out. And I looked at him like he was kind of crazy. And then after the end of the night, when I cleaned up everything and it cleaned the wines that spilled on the floor and so forth, and all of these things that had happened in this dinner, all out of this water machine, I said, okay, I need to learn more. And about 6 months later, we ended up purchasing one for Crush. That machine, we did all the cleaning with, we drank the water, we did tea with, we did coffee, press pot coffee services with it, and I was just like, this is really incredible. And my staff thought it was so cool because they didn't have that smell of, say, bleach and vinegar on the floors and all of these things that we clean with. So I think now it's been over 10 years, and I'm kind of smitten with it, I guess, or a true believer, put it that way.
And I met you one night, and you actually spotted my water bottle and said, hey, is that Kangen Water? And I said, yeah, you know about it?
Yeah, that's right. And I think people that walk around with that water bottle, it's like you know, right? Those ones that know. Yeah, for me, I've always believed in the science behind things. As much as cooking and being a chef can be, a feeling and emotion sometimes, I always try to balance it with science. And so when I learned about Kangen Water, I grabbed onto it wholeheartedly. And honestly, in the beginning, you kind of think about like, can water just do that?
Right.
I mean, it's contradictory to all the things that we learn. Yet, when you experience it, and, so you drink it or you taste it and you watch what happens when you clean with it, it happens right there in front of you. And so it's easy to adopt.
It's irrefutable.
Right.
And I remember to this day your reaction when I first showed you the 11.5 in the sesame oil emulsifying, and you took one of your kitchen towels and dipped it in the 11.5 and took it to one of your grease hoods and just wiped it along the hood, and your reaction to that was priceless when you saw what came off of those hoods.
So I think that my second restaurant is Miller's Guild in downtown Seattle, and that's a wood-fired restaurant, right? And I think what I'm remembering was that we had taken that towel along the hood, and then I took it just like a moment later and ran it inside the grill, and that grill gets really greasy, really dirty, lots of smoke, and it came out pristine. And I'm like, wait a minute. So for me, I knew how good it was, but it was so cool to be able to show my team and go, look, this is real. This really does work. It's authentic.
And that's what we're talking about today, is we're talking about breaking the mold of, we don't always have to keep doing what's always been done. We don't just have to keep using sanitizers, chemical degreasers, and all these harmful products in the kitchen just because it's what we've always done. We need to keep moving forward, and we need to keep innovating.
You think about that, and And are you think about what you said, right? Which is innovating and what we've always done, and maybe doing things that are contradictory to that. If that was the case, then would we ever be anywhere close to using these things?
Right.
If that were the case, would we have electric cars, and just goes on and on. Why stop there, and why is it that we wouldn't want to? My question is, why is it we wouldn't want to adopt something like that in the restaurant? In the restaurant kitchen, we're always looking at how to become more efficient. And I look at it like if I had one machine to do my degreaser, my sanitizer, and then drinking water for my kitchen staff, and just stopped right there, that would be, let alone a good investment. But then I'm going to add on the ability to wash vegetables. So if you think about this idea of washing vegetables, we put a vegetable that comes out of a field and gets stocked and stored in a warehouse on the floors, essentially, in a cold warehouse, and then we put just plain old water on it, and that's supposed to get all of this stuff off. And what I think we haven't seen or we don't know is that process and the things that happen along the way, the chain of events that leads to that. So if we look at how to make even that product better, there again is a innovation, and there again is reason to change. And it's ultimately about the operator. Do we ask ourselves, how good can we be? But for me, I think this is a no-brainer.
What do you think this brings to the table in terms of quality of product that you're serving to your guests?
Well, the quality of product is one of it has to start with a product itself. But if we're able to deliver, let's say, a cleaner product, a product that we know has been taken care of, then we have that confidence level in the product. But if we're able to deliver something that actually tastes better, isn't masked by anything that happened along the way, and even consider buying organic. There are still going to be organic things that happen to it along its way. For me, I think that's just putting your best foot forward as an operator, knowing that you've given every step along the way to ensure that your products are the best, and then delivering that to the guest. So product safety and quality, and then again, the shelf life that goes along with this is increased, and then taste. So there's great reasons behind, I think anyways, behind using the water.
That's a great point you bring up about shelf life, and they've done studies where they've shown that when you wash produce properly using the 11.5, the strong alkaline water, that it can increase the shelf life up to 14 days longer, which is huge for you because you don't have so much product waste.
Yeah, the idea of what we do really is that restaurants are ultimately retailing food and beverage. So when we purchase food to change it in some sort of fashion or to prepare to sell it, it sits on our shelf for, maybe it's a day, maybe it's a couple of hours, maybe it's a couple of days. And any sort of change in that product, whether that it goes bad, affects our ability to resell it. So if we look at just black and white, we want a longer shelf life and a brighter, more beautiful product. And this really is a reference to vegetables. But we want that product to be better so that we're able to sell it at that premium that we want to sell it for. If we then start thinking about things like fish and poultry and meat, so many restaurants nowadays are doing the poke craze, right? Mm-hmm. So, I hate to break it down to the nitty gritty, but if I'm taking, ahi that's been frozen at sea, caught wild, frozen at sea, butchered someplace that I'm not sure, and then brought into my kitchen, I have that other level of security just knowing that my cook is dipping it in that 2.5 solution, taking all of the bacteria out of it, and then going ahead and starting to cut it. He or she is also washed off the cutting board that same way. I wouldn't do that if I was using a bleach solution or any sort of other chemical-based solution, because it's going to taste like that solution. So your poke just went sideways. So then that really is expressive of any sort of thing you're doing with proteins.
Yeah, the what you're referring to is actually hypochlorous acid, which is what's produced by the machine. It's an FDA-approved sanitizer, and it's actually more than twice as effective at killing bacteria than bleach is. But yet you can drink it. You could, like you said, prepare your food with it. You can dip your ahi tuna in it and then eat it raw.
And imagine if you did that with your bleach.
It wouldn't taste very good, and you probably wouldn't feel very good after eating it, and you would not be coming back to the lake house for another meal.
And I think about what is trendy right now, and you think about where food is moving and in what direction. And there is this level of naturalism that's become important. There's definitely a level of connectivity to our products. People want to know that, there's a source for it, know about that source. And I think taking a more natural approach to how we treat our fruits, vegetables, and proteins is just a natural progression along the way to becoming either a better restaurant or the way that food is heading as well.
And obviously in Seattle, the Pacific Northwest, we're very big on green everything. We want chemical free, we want to be good to the environment, and that's what you're doing is you're removing the chemical products that are coming into contact with our food prep areas, and obviously contributing to the environment by not having that go back into the ecosystems or into the food.
Yeah, I mean the big question is, in that realm, the big question for me is, can I make a difference? And, I think I mentioned earlier that the best way we make a difference as chefs is how we teach. And so if I teach 25 people that this is a new way of doing it, 25 of those people may go out to their next position, or they may carry that forward or that message, but they also are going to tell other people, just as diners tell people about great and not so great experiences in restaurants. It's all word of mouth, and that's the strongest word we can have. So the difference ultimately, while we have a smaller effect in that ability to not put chemicals down the drain and to be a greener operation, our greatest footprint is how we affect our employees and our team going out and talking about it more.
That's very powerful.
It is.
And in a few minutes, we're actually going to go in the back and we're going to check out this technology and show you how it works and how it's used. But Chef Jason, is there if you were to say one thing to restaurateurs or fellow chefs out there regarding this, what would it be?
It's adoption. So I think that the important thing is for people to open their minds to it and open their eyes to it enough to be able to take that first step. The greatest thing about having adopting something new is developing that new habit. So when we think about that new habit is, get yourself in there, try it enough to have a little confidence, and then continue with that. Continue with it for 2 to 3 weeks, and just watch how you adapt that into a new habit, and then how you start to spread that word a little bit more within your team. That innately will develop that confidence to do this on a daily basis. And that kind of mantra really, it almost flights for any sort of new thing you're doing, but with Kangen Water in particular, you're going against all those things that people have told you how to do. Yet science shows you that this actually works. And then you can see it for yourself as you adopt it. So I encourage people, adopt it, look into it, and then use it so you can really see the difference yourself. And it becomes powerful. And eventually you think to yourself, do you want to innovate, or do you want to just kind of wait until someone else does? I look at it like there's no better time to seize that moment and do something that will actually make a difference and be part of that.
Yeah, and you're paving the way for future restaurateurs and chefs to really get on board with this, but you're setting a precedent of, hey, this is how we're doing things here. We're innovating, we're doing things differently than everyone else does, and that's, I'm sure, part of why you're so successful here at the Lake House.
That's part of what we do. That's part of what we do.
If you're wondering, this is the Lake House in Bellevue, Washington. We are located in the beautiful W Hotel, brand new. You just opened last June?
Yep,
correct?
A year ago.
And farm to table, everything's fresh, phenomenal menu, changes every single day. And we'd love to have you come visit. And we're gonna go in the back in a few minutes and just show you how this all works. Okay, so now we're in the back and we're just going to show you how this technology works. Right here we have the Enagic Level X Super 501, and this actually produces 7 different pH levels of water that have all kinds of uses, many of which Chef Jason talked to us about earlier. And one of them that we're going to show you right now, if I press this button here, what's actually
being produced by this device is this top hose here is making hypochlorous acid, which is 2.5 pH electrolyzed water. Now this is actually twice as effective as most bleaches in terms of disinfecting, sanitizing, and use it to disinfect and clean anything around the kitchen, cutting boards, knives, you name it. Now what's being produced out the bottom here is a strong alkaline water that actually has some very unique properties to it, which we're going to show you here in just a moment. Now I press the stop button and it stops making it. Now here we have the sanitizer that will actually pass a health inspection. And as I mentioned before, it's twice as effective as bleaches at killing bacteria. This water, this high pH water that we have here, is fascinating stuff because this is what Chef Jason and the staff at the lake house are using to clean their floors, their grease traps, their hoods, but a lot of other uses for it as well. And one thing I'm going to show you is, this is some sesame oil that I have here, and we already know that water and oil
What, Jason?
They do not mix.
They
right?
do not mix. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this sesame oil here, and we're going to show you the tap water and that sesame oil simply do not mix. But this is some of this high pH water that we just produced from this Enagic technology right here. And I'm going to take some of this, and I am going to actually completely emulsify that sesame oil. Get this, with water that I can drink, completely non-toxic, which is amazing because if you come over here, Tristan, you're going to see that we have some tomatoes here, and we're going to actually wash these tomatoes on the right with this high pH water. And
What,
then
get tap water for the other one?
Chef Jason's going to help us here.
Your assistant, Chef Jason.
Yeah, I'm fine
He-
with donning that hat.
He's the sous chef today.
Okay, that's how we normally do it. We normally put it in tap water, or I shouldn't say we, but that's generally how speaking how
People.
people will wash the vegetables. And you can see there's just a little bit of discoloration or tinge in this water, but I mean it's just so faint. What happens in the other?
But if you look at this one, and Tristan, if you can zoom in there, you can see that this water is already starting to turn yellow, and that it's extremely oily and greasy to the touch. And one thing that we don't realize is that tap water has chlorine, it has fluoride, it has over 200 chemicals in it, and these tomatoes are porous, just like human skin. So they're actually absorbing all the chemicals in our tap water. So if you're buying good organic produce, and it's coming into contact with tap water, you are still putting all of these chemicals into your produce.
You know what I've always enjoyed about this too, is that you can see a color difference in the tomatoes, just in the ones that are coming out of the water. So you can almost choose any one of these, you'll see a difference, but then you can also feel a difference. There's an actual redness that's increased in this tomato. What you've done is you've taken off any of this, gosh, it's so
Waxy
strange.
residue.
Yeah, there's this, well, the residue, there's sprays essentially that go on in this to prevent that porousness from absorbing things in the environment and then, decomposing or ripening the tomato faster than it wants to be on the shelf. So you look at that, it's dramatic, the difference.
And we can even pour some of that out to give our
Yeah.
viewers a better view. So there's our relatively clean tap water. And then we have our, where do you see this? I mean,
Ooh.
does anybody want to take a sip of that? I don't.
So there's the difference.
Look at that.
Well, this looks like a sample of the doctor's. And that's kind of the scary part, is that we're
It looks like
ingesting
urine.
that when we eat these tomatoes. And I mean, that goes to any other vegetables. Tomatoes being porous are a real simple way of doing it. We've done it with cherries. Being in Washington State, we used about a ton of these a year. Cherries, that is. And we've done with cherries with the same result, the liquid being a little bit darker. But same deal because cherries are porous as well.
And a lot of times you don't see the chemicals that are on there as well. For example, apples. We're in Washington State, the home of apples, and they put wax on apples. Cucumbers have a waxy film on them that you can't always see, but you can certainly feel. And this has the ability to remove that because, as you see, this sesame oil that we mixed with the water, the tap water, has completely separated. And here we are several minutes later, and that has not separated. It is still completely emulsified. So the ability to clean the back of the house and even the front of the house of your restaurant is phenomenal compared to even in terms of results that you would have with many chemical products. We found that the high alkaline water has the ability to even outperform the chemical degreasers.